So through human challenge studies run at hVIVO was the first demonstration of proof of concept that we can protect against this really important family of pathogens. That's starting with RSV. And now, of course, we're in the great position that these RSV vaccines have been rolled out and become the benchmark of how to conduct these different tests and how to conduct these vaccines and develop vaccines against this family.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by Andrew Catchpole, Chief Scientific Officer at hVIVO. Andrew, very good to speak with you. hVIVO shared some positive data from multiple novel human challenge models presented at some key conferences. Could you give us an overview of these conferences and why it's key for hVIVO to be there?
Good to be here. Thank you for the introduction. Yes, it's correct. We've been at the European Scientific Working Group meeting, which is often known as ESWI, and also the World Vaccine Congress. These are both really important conferences for the area that we work in. These conferences bring together a real range of experts, real experts working and developing products in here, and also academics as well who are doing the core research that's so crucial to actually developing products and giving those ideas to develop new products. So at these conferences, bringing together that level of experts, it's important that hVIVO are there and presenting the work that we do so that the awareness of these models becomes far, far greater. So that's really why we go to these. We give the awareness and we see from our clients a great interest in the type of work that we're doing and understanding that we've got these brand new models that are available and that these models can then be brought to market and actually then we can test these products and get products to market faster.
Andrew, why is it important to run these challenge model studies and why is the data so important?
The challenge models give a really good opportunity to get fast proof of concept data very, very quickly. And this can be really important in making decisions quickly. So if a product's not working, it's just as important to know that very early on, just as if it is working, it then able to get fast track status and move forward and develop that product very much faster. So challenge models really have a really powerful way of doing that. So what we presented at these recent conferences is the development of new challenge models. This really expands the type of models which people can test against and the different pathogens which people can test their products against. So when we do that, the first phase is to actually make a medical grade version of the virus, a GMP virus itself, so the challenge agent. And we have a unique ability at hVIVO, a unique expertise to be able to do that. And we have a long track history of producing these new challenge agents and then testing them clinically. So to test them clinically, we're doing what we call a characterization study. And the characterization studies are where we take our healthy volunteers and we're giving them this virus under quarantine conditions. The purpose of this is to look at the disease time course. And from this, we get the data, which then gives us an understanding of how the virus is performing, what the infection rates look like, what the disease symptoms look like. And this enables us to then power the studies for future vaccine or antiviral testing. So it really builds that body of data needed to move forward with the product testing. And it's a really crucial step forward.
HMPV was very big in the media last winter. Can you give us more about your HMPV challenge model? Why is the development of this model so important?
Yeah, HMPV is a really important pathogen, or human metapneumovirus is to give it its full name. So RSV has become quite well known in recent years in the general community because, of course, the advent of the RSV vaccines have been rolled out in the last couple of years. And hVIVO has been really proud of our involvement in that. So through human challenge studies run at hVIVO was the first demonstration of proof of concept that we can protect against this really important family of pathogens. That's starting with RSV. And now, of course, we're in the great position that these RSV vaccines have been rolled out and become the benchmark of how to conduct these different tests and how to conduct these vaccines and develop vaccines against this family. Now, next in the family is HMPV, has a very similar portfolio in terms of the type of pathogen it is and its actual at-risk group. So it's again is a pathogen that really is targeting against the babies and infants and of course the elderly as well. So it's really important pathogen for those vulnerable groups. So researchers have moved from working on RSV to now work on HMPV to try and tackle this really key unmet medical need. So with hVIVO, we're very much trying to respond to where the scientific community is going. And as we have seen different researchers developing products against HMPV, we've now developed a challenge model so they can test the effectiveness of those vaccines and antivirals against this really important pathogen. Because as we stand right now, there's absolutely no treatments against HMPV and no vaccines whatsoever. So having a challenge model, just as was proven with RSV, having a challenge model can really help fast track development of those countermeasures and really bring vaccines and antivirals to the market quicker for this really important pathogen.
hVIVO also announced details of the finalized Omicron challenge model. What makes this unique?
So the Omicron challenge model is unique because it's now been developed to really reflect the real world scenario. And what I mean by that is when hVIVO ran the world's first coronavirus challenge model, just what was actually in the pandemic, actually, that was designed at a time when people had not been vaccinated and many of us had not been exposed to the pathogen. So that model was set up in what we call serologically naive volunteers. They hadn't got any pre-exposure to the pathogen. Of course, that's not the world we live in now. So this Omicron model has been set up to reflect the world we live in, where most people who want vaccines have had the vaccines against this pathogen, and all of us have been exposed to this pathogen. Therefore, we all have some level of immunity against it. But nonetheless, more vaccines and more countermeasures are still required for this group and this family of coronaviruses. So we are seeing, for pandemic preparedness, we're seeing a number of organizations producing what we call pan-coronavirus vaccines, so vaccines which not only could potentially work against the current circulating strains, but members of the same family of viruses could also protect against those too. So it's important to have a challenge model that can work against those. Now, Omicron was the first virus that was shown to actually cause breakthrough infections, i.e., to be able to establish an infection in someone who already has some level of immunity. So we've demonstrated now by demonstrating this Omicron model that we can do that. We've developed this model which indeed does give infections in someone that has been previously vaccinated. So hence, we now have a tool available to be able to test a vaccine that could be pan-coronavirus, for example. So an important pandemic preparedness tool.
RSVB was another focus area, Andrew. How does this fit into hVIVO's broader strategy?
Absolutely right. So RSVB is again another world first. It's the first RSVB challenge model ever to be developed. And this is important because what we're seeing now on the advent of the really successful RSVA vaccines and the first generation of vaccines that were developed, what we're seeing now is researchers are thinking about, can we have combination vaccines that protect against multiple different pathogens in one vaccination? For example, they may protect against RSV, HMPV, and parainfluenza, and covering within that both the major types of RSV, which is an A and a B. But until now, there was no challenge model to be able to test those. So it's very important to be able to have a challenge model to be able to test against all those pathogens. So just as we set up the HMPV models, we've now also got RSVB to complement the existing RSVA challenge models that we have. We're seeing this not only for use of proof of concept in early stage development, but also can be very complementary to a phase 2 or phase 3 study as well. Because what happens in a normal phase 2 or phase 3 study is that they vaccinate people and then they have to go into the community, and then of course they're dependent on what is circulating in that given year. Now in any given year, one of the types tends to dominate. So it might be RSVA in that year, or the next year it might be RSVB. And this makes it very difficult to show broad spectrum efficacy for a vaccine if only one of the strains was circulating. So we can see this, that it could be very complementary. So if you go into the field with your vaccine and only one of the strains is then circulating, they can then do a complementary study with the challenge study to fill in that gap. So now that we have A and B available, whichever is circulating in the community, you can complement that data with a challenge study and get that efficacy data to be able to demonstrate the vaccine can work against both strains. So this really is an important tool going forward for vaccinations and antivirals as well, and particularly with these combination vaccines that are being developed.
Andrew, what's next for the scientific team?
Scientific team at hVIVO, of course, are always really busy, and our goals, our long-standing goals, is really develop models and expand the utility that we can offer to really broaden the breadth of our utility for our clients. Very much a client demand. So we're monitoring what's going on with the community and scientific community and their products, and trying to have products that match our end. Hence, we've seen that HMPV is being developed. So we've now got products against HMPV. But in addition to that, of course, we're working, of course, a much wider breadth of that. So we've been very much focused on getting respiratory models up and running. So things like for asthma and COPD, and we've having seeing a lot of patients in there, and we've been very successful recruiting patients onto clinical trials for those indications as well. So we're broadening our expertise so that we can bring hVIVO's skill set to a wider type of products and wider disease indications to bring a wider portfolio of products to the market faster. And this includes, of course, with our recent acquisition of CRS, we're now able to really greatly broaden the types of diseases that we work with. For example, cardiometabolic or renal and hepatic are really key indications that really are experts at our colleagues in CRS. So the scientific team is very much working at developing new areas. And this also extends to the laboratory, where we've been instrumental in including actually now a wider portfolio of assays to offer our clients to complement the clinical trials and to do the clinical trial analysis. And that includes digital PCR as well as next generation sequencing and a whole portfolio of immunological and virological assays. So the scientific team is really about trying to keep developing new models and new tools to help our clients move forward.
Andrew, I hope you'll continue to keep us updated with your progress on that. Thank you very much for taking the time today.
Thank you.
Andrew Catchpole is Chief Scientific Officer at hVIVO.